So, a while back, John Bain died. I made a video on it, and I expressed quite a amount of outrage over the fact that there were so many people busy dancing on his coffin, and I missed a few targets, like some of the people over at that worked on Mass Effect, and some of the other news media outlets, and the gamer journalists and stuff like that. So, I'd only seen a couple of tweets, but it was enough to send me into paroxysms of just outright rage. And then I came across this. This was actually on, when I was going on to Google Chrome on my phone, I get a list of news articles that might be of interest to me. Why this particular one jumped up from Forbes, since I've never been to Forbes.com on my phone ever. And I think this might actually be the first time I've ever read an article on Forbes.com in its entirety. I don't know why this popped up, but it did. I'm going to see if I can fix this bottom screen real quick. TotalBiscuit's legacy and the collateral damage of Gamergate. God, because we cannot beat this drum enough, and we cannot, smear enough dirt on this man's coffin. And this is a contributor by the name of Frusina. I have no fucking idea how to say that. Airdog? I don't know. Now, if you click on here, right here, it says opinions expressed by Forbes contributors are their own. Well, let's say I believe that. You're still the one endorsing it, and you're putting it up on your website. So let's dig into this little shit stain here. Of course, the picture is of John Bain, not as he was at his best, but as he is suffering from stage 4 cancer. Because, that's not the most flattering picture of the guy you could use. I would have gone with something a little bit better. Hell, I think one of the top images for TotalBiscuit's him in that suit and tie looking like a freaking god. But regardless, let's continue. Fuck. Piss off. Pop-up ads. So, the late YouTube legend known as John TotalBiscuit Bain would have turned 34 on Sunday had he not lost his struggle to bowel cancer about a month ago. And yet, that's not going to stop you from treading on his memory, are you? Instead of happy birthdays and tributes to his decades-plus career in the video game industry, however, his name is currently being invoked with the firing of 2 game developers and associated mob harassment. That would be Jessica Price, her weak-ass little helper in stupidity, and the mob harassment of how dare she treat her customer base like utter shit. But, that's Gamergate, guys. His critics call it fitting that this is Bain's legacy, but many of his fans, some of whom have grown up with him, are wondering why some internet drama from 2014 is still relevant enough in 2018 to damage Bain's brand forever. Even posthumously, TotalBiscuit is causing controversy. Well, here's the thing. No, he's not. And some internet drama from 2014 is not relevant at all. The only reason it keeps trying to be relevant is people like you keep bringing it up to smear mud. But to progressives on what constitutes as mainstream internet, I'm pretty sure what you mean to say to progressives on what constitutes as the mainstream internet, Bain was the man who legitimized Gamergate. No, he didn't. 2014 harassment campaign turned consumer revolt, which, again, you have it backwards because you're a fucking idiot. That went on to inspire conservatives. Really? No, because conservatives are a large demographic, and most of them have never heard of this shit. Most people haven't heard of TotalBiscuit unless you're a hardcore gamer. The casual gamers have never heard of this guy. Your average conservative who is not a gamer has never heard of this guy. But, stupid. Esports consultant and journalist Rod Slasher Breslau, a close friend, disputes that characterization of Bain in a phone interview. He's right to do so. Broso is wrong. Oh, just straight up wrong. Really, he knew the guy. He was his good, close friend. I mean, it does say close friend right fucking there, but he's wrong. He does not know TotalBiscuit, or I should actually just call him John Bain. He doesn't know John Bain nearly as well as this woman does. I don't know. Should I even be classifying her as a woman? I mean, obviously in this day and age, you don't need to have a vagina to be a woman, so she could be a man. I don't fucking know. She could identify as a goddamn single-celled organism. As wrong as Brisau is, I'm not going to get that name right. I'm really not. We're just going to call him B. So are the critics maligning TotalBiscuit as a white supremacist and abuser whose death should be celebrated immediately in a space his widow can see. Well, You know what? That's pretty much the only honest thing in this entire article. The online telephone game that slandered the female targets of Gamergate worked both ways, including here for Bane. Except there weren't any female targets of Gamergate. They were specifically going after the journalists that were involved, and people like you kept bringing up these women. It wasn't Gamergate that was doing it. It was you guys. As for the fans who searched for those heartless post-death announcement comments and screen caps, shared them widely, again, where his wife saw, they've also lost a moral high ground. Depending on your thought on proper Twitter etiquette, might even be worse than the original offenders. Wow. So the people calling out the shitheads are worse than the shitheads. That is some amazing logic. And honestly, I don't think I'm nearly drunk enough to understand that logic, but let's see if I can get there. We're gonna see if we can get drunk enough to make it through this and see things from her point of view. To competitive gamers, teens, and YouTubers, TotalBiscuit was a consumer advocate and popular commentator who legitimized esports and contributed significantly to the growth of both YouTube and Twitch TV. Now, I didn't know that. I knew he was a commenter. Well, more specifically, he was a games critic as far as I'm concerned, but I didn't know that he was one of the big legitimizers of esports. I know that he was very popular in the StarCraft community, but anything more than that, I didn't know that he was the trendsetter. I thought he was a trend follower. He was an ethics and game video crusader on YouTube from at least 2011 onwards, years before Gamergate, and a prominent StarCraft 2 commentator by 2009. Now, I don't even remember seeing any of his commentary on StarCraft 2. I know there have been shoutcasters out there, and I've actually watched a couple of them until Blizzard decided to start going after him. But I didn't know that he did that. As for TotalBiscuit's mega personality and ubiquitous voice, he honed that in 2004 on his various World of Warcraft radio shows that ran until 2010 when he moved to YouTube and Twitch, then called Justin TV. I've never heard of World of Warcraft radio. I'll have to go look it up later. He was one of the very first StarCraft 2 casters in the world. Again, that was news to me. And apparently this guy, B, met Bane at StarCraft 2 Major League Gaming event in 2009, said those memories of Bane at tournaments were some of his favorites. Anyway, so this is just a little bit about that, so just skip on that. This is a quote from Twitch. After his John Bane's opinion and game critiques and sense of humor led him to become one of the most prominent voices in the gaming industry. The emote bearing his face represents the indelible mark that he left on Twitch. Thank you for everything, TotalBiscuit. Apparently he has a couple of Twitch emoticons. I've never actually been on Twitch, so I couldn't tell you. But anyway, besides being a first and now multi-million-dollar industry, Bane is credited with innovating video game-related formats on YouTube, including commentary and critique. He could be described as the neediest Sarkeesian of the right in the current culture wars. Always aggressive with his opinions, but a bit thin-skinned to criticize himself. Now, two things. One, as far as I'm aware, John Bane was a liberal. He was very much on the left. And two, Anita Sarkeesian, well, she's kind of a fucking hack. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it at all. She still hasn't delivered on her Kickstarter promises and goals from like 5 years ago with her first series of gamers versus feminism, or gaming versus what the hell that fucking video series was on. She still hasn't finished that. And by saying that he would be the opposite of her, aggressive with opinion, a bit thin to criticism, you're actually throwing shade on Sarkeesian, which I'm okay with, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't what you were planning on doing there. And B also disputed this characterization of Bane as kind of the Anita of the right, saying Bane didn't like the culture on the right. He didn't like the culture on the left. He always felt both sides were kind of ridiculous and contributing to the same problem. I can agree with that. I really can. But again, he wasn't on the right. He wasn't a member of the alt-right or anything like that. As far from what I have seen of what he has said, not what other people have said about him, he was very much on the left. For someone so savvy at digital media preceding the incident, Bane's involvement with Gamergate in 2014 can only be explained as a lapse in judgment. Up until that point, he hadn't yet been duped by the fake news campaigns perpetuated by organized online trolls. I'm just going to throw this out here right now. When you have the journalists on one side mischaracterizing the people that they're talking about, and those people pushing back, who's the fake news? Yeah. His media literacy was higher than most, but in the end it was not enough to keep Bane from becoming the perfect, useful idiot in the troll agenda. Now, these trolls are like the Russians. They can just do anything. Any troll aims to bring in a handful of well-meaning patsies for their fake cause. Bane brought in thousands. Well, here's the thing. And I have said before, I think Gamergate was a giant, giant steaming platter of shit. It had good intentions, I think. And it didn't help that the gaming journalists as a whole decided to paint a target on their back by being every bit as shady and dirty as they were accused of being. Hands down, there's ample proof of that. But you can't call Bane a well-intentioned idiot on that. You can't. What pulled Bane into the online controversy was an issue he'd covered before relating to false copyright strikes issued by YouTube bullies and music corporations. B maintained Bane didn't care nor had any interest in any female developer's sexual history. And which developer would that be? Because as far as I know, the person in general is not a games developer. What sparked the original mob? No, what sparked the original mob is that Mundane Matt put out a video talking about literally game developers banging their subjects in return for good reviews of their games. That video got a false copyright strike. And when that was pushed against, all the games journalists decided to use things like Kotaku, Rock, Paper, Shotgun, etc., Polygon, decided to all on the same day drop about a dozen articles saying how gamers were dead, gamers weren't your target audience, and you shouldn't be, gamers shouldn't be the people that you're marketing your video games to. Which kind of proved Gamergate right. I don't know if you understand how that works, since you don't actually go into the nuance of this. You're just doing your usual bullshit. Bane had already been talking about ethics in the video game industry for years and either led or supported online campaigns that impacted the video game industry for the better, like increased transparency for starters. He was, for all intents and purposes, the expert on the ethics in video games topic, and ultimately B is wrong, because the area of expertise that when Jane entered the conversation, he immediately legitimized the ethics in video game journalism narrative. First of all, journalists, regardless of what they're covering, should have an ethical standard. I don't care if you're a journalist whose entire circuit is, origami fucking unicorns. If that's what you're covering, you should have a basis of ethics when you do so. The very fact that the gaming journalism elite, for lack of a better term, as a whole, time and time again showed that they did not have any sort of ethics platform whatsoever, is what the entire movement was based on. But it gets better, because unfortunately for Bane, his star power, his white male privilege, because you can't fucking have that. My God, the man was suffering from a debilitating cancer for years, but privilege. And massive fan base of more than 1 million can never change the narrative to the issue he wanted to discuss, because people like you would never let it be about the issue to be discussed. One side's talking about game journalists, the other ones are talking about the women that, quite frankly, no one gave a shit about and have absolutely no relevance today and had absolutely no relevance then either. But I like this. For this mistake would eternally brand him as the face of a troll movement whose main claim to fame was making headlines for privacy breaches. Yeah, because there wasn't a shit ton of people from the Gamergate side that were doxxed. Fucking Mundane Matt got doxxed over that, for shit's sakes. Hacking has not been proven, and various online crimes including harassing women out of their homes and threats of gun violence. I'm just going to say harassing women out of their homes, that would have been Brianna Wu, who, beyond being so irrelevant to the conversation at hand, was actually trying to drive up hate against herself to use to prove that she was being harassed. Woman tried to harass herself and failed because all the people involved in this were like, oh my God, donate to my Patreon because I'm being harassed. And she, of course, wanted the money, so she had to do it herself because she's a fucking moron. And it was even proven that when she claimed that she was driven out of her home, she was still there. Because her secret, I'm recording and broadcasting from my secret bunker, was in her goddamn house. People compared the pictures and went, oh, holy shit, it's still her house. She's a fucking liar. Why are you continuing to lie about this? No one wants that. He would never promote the actual harassment of people he disagreed with. There's no way John thinks that is good. He never condoned what his fans did to people. But here's the thing. You don't control your fans, and there's no proof that it was his fans that were doing it. And that's the reason that, being anonymous on the internet is such a boon to people, including the people that were going after the Gamergate portion of that little fucking shitstorm. Efforts to extract himself from Gamergate in 2015 were unsuccessful. Had they been, this article wouldn't exist. Who cares? So, they go over some of his accomplishments, like busting the info on the gold farmers and bots in World of Warcraft. Something to do with Machinima, which is they make videos. So yeah, he was a really cool dude. The Mass Effect 3 DLC online controversy where people were paying for things that were already in the game on the disc. I remember that. That's actually where I actually first heard about him. God, was that in 2002? That game's 6 years old. Jesus. So, we're just going to keep moving on. Shadows of Mordor controversy. I'm not familiar with that. Oh, that was the one where you had to actually sign a deal that you weren't going to talk about the fact that you were being paid for your review, basically. 2017, this was even as a convention. Somebody asked a Kotaku journalist if traps were gay. It was dumb, but whatever. This incident ultimately lost some subscribers. I don't know. So, moving on. But back to Gamergate, because this is apparently this is going to be the club that progressives and feminists that want to control gaming will keep swinging long after anybody's even familiar with what the fuck it was. 100 years from now, Gamergate is still going to be the boogeyman under the feminist bed. Besides spreading fake news, even after acknowledging organized troll interference, yes, there were trolls that were fucking with both sides. Bane's biggest crimes, if they can be called that, involved being a critic, expressing odious, obnoxious, and controversial opinions, and tweeting jokes in bad taste, including the death of feminist media critic Anita Sarkeesian. And you're trying to frame that joke tweet as otherwise best have never tweeted a hashtag kill a men or male steer joke. Again, you are so close to actually being fucking sentient. It's amazing. Just take that extra step. Become a person. Open your fucking eyes and pull your head out. Two liberal memes, Gamergaters, and trollers conservatives like to personally take out of context to demonize feminists. And you failed. You almost had a chance of self-realization, and you fucking failed. A doxer, swatter, hacker, troll, bigot, or serial harasser, he was not. No, of course not, because he was on the side of Gamergate. And he actually had his actual name and face out there. You'll find that no one on the Gamergate side that was open with their identity was involved in any of that shit. B is also adamant that he and Bane believe Sarkeesian's threats is real, not standing on Bane's uninformed comments about the matter made in 2014. I don't know. I really don't think they were. There's been no proof that any of the threats made against Sarkeesian were valid. At one point, supposedly a bomb threat was called in where she was supposed to have a speaking gig, and it was proven to be bullshit, and then she canceled because they wouldn't pay her an extra like 50 grand or something. I'm not. I could be wrong about that. It might just be because they didn't want to pay for the extra security, and she bounced. Not certain about that. It's been a couple of years, and quite frankly, I'm not really interested in digging it all up because I don't want to have to wait to that shit again. Sarkeesian was mentioned by Bane quite a few times over the years, not just because dunking on feminists is popular and an easy way to get internet points. To be fair, I could probably have a hell of a lot more subscribers than I do if I just was, constantly shitting on liberals. And the reason I would be able to get a ton of subscribers to that is because shitting on liberals is easy when you act so goddamn stupid. Part of why Bain criticized Sarkeesian often had to do with her being viewed as somewhat of an equal or a rival. No. Not on her best day and his worst. I'm sorry. Dude had 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I have no idea how popular he was on Twitch or other platforms. She couldn't complete a Kickstarter that she got paid way too much goddamn money for. So, yeah, no, there is no comparison there. Another reason, this is talking about how she was never really a part of YouTube, never built up a fan base. Well, she never had a fan base amongst gamers either. She was a poor representative of YouTube feminists. No, she was actually about part of the course for a YouTube feminist, to be completely honest. Now, this is just a bunch of them talking about Sarkeesian and whatnot. When the Gamergate conversation, especially in the media, stayed focused on people like Sarkeesian, it immediately turned gamers off because no one trusted her and she was seen as not reliable. This is very true. And also, because it wasn't about Sarkeesian. You guys kept making it about people like Sarkeesian and Brianna Wu and whatever the hell the name of the girl that was, or the woman that was involved in the original DMCA Takedown Monday Matt. I can't remember her name. And quite frankly, it's not fucking important because she's not fucking important. But that was a level of distance and perceived snobbery by selling misinformation and joke ideas about feminists wanting to ban all the video games. Well, no, but they don't want to... Feminists involved in the gaming circuit don't want you to enjoy your gaming. Streamer and video essayist T1J broke down some of the fake news and out-of-control hate slung Sarkeesian's way. This guy is not a valid example of fucking anything. You want to bring this guy, and I can bring in Black Pigeon Speaks and probably get the exact opposite of what this guy is saying, and it wouldn't make it any more fucking valid. It's only in recent years that Bain began to gain more perspective and consider the responsibility that came with his YouTube and Twitch fame, including whether he should, in what way as a critic, criticize someone who's harassed often in a public forum. We are going to ignore the fact that John Bain, for years, was harassed. Not from people on the right, not from the Gamergate, not from even gamers in general, really, but by people that supported Sarkeesian and Wu and, you know, Polygon subscribers and people from Rock Paper Shotgun and Kotaku, who constantly were saying that they hoped the cancer would win, that he needed to die. I mean, again, people from BioWare and tons of people on Twitter were celebrating his death. He was putting up with that for years. You don't mention any of that. And to be fair, the people that support Sarkeesian or the people that support Kotaku or the people that support BioWare, not the employees, but the people, the gamers and the consumers that support those people in those organizations that went after Bain, don't support Sarkeesian and those people or those organizations either. They're just assholes. The reason Gamergate will always and forever be characterized as a sexist movement, not a genuine ethics and video game journalism crusade, despite long-standing shadiness in video game-related media and John Bain's efforts, is precisely because the ethics issue flew under the radar for many years until it involved a woman who happened to be feminist. Now that's debatable. Being accused of sexual misconduct by an angry ex. But it wasn't even about that. It was, they didn't go after her, they went after the journalists. And this whole thing stemmed from the fact that, like I said, Mundane Matt got a DMCA charge, which took his video down. Someone else commented on that. And then the game journalists as a whole went in and went on their tirade against the white male gamer. They literally lit the fuse on that bomb and then were busy saying, hey, whoa. Why are you guys holding matches? It was the actions of the mob engaging in sexist agenda that made headlines. Not that a developer slept with somebody. That's not news. It's really not. The thing was, though, is that people like you spent so much time and effort to divert it away from the journalists and make it about the women involved. You're the reason that it's been characterized as a sexist movement. Not because of anything that Gamergate did, but by what you said they did. I mean, God, Law & Order SVU had a very pulled from the headlines episode, as they love to do, that characterized Gamergate as a fucking rape gang that literally tracked down a female developer at a games expo, kidnapped and brutally gang raped her. Holy shit, people. If that's not muddying the water, I don't know what is, and I need more booze. Okay, that bottle's empty. Oof. That's an eighth of Jack Daniels. Let's see if this... I still can't see your point. So, the hashtag Gamergate was coined by conservative actor reacting to the previously mentioned slut-shaming video. No, the fact that it was fucking taken down on false pretenses. Well, Gamergate faded away and lost relevancy except among progressive social media bubbles and white supremacists. I noticed that you don't actually provide a link for the white supremacist part. I don't know any white supremacists that give a shit about fucking video games. But the progressives will never let this go, because like I said, this is the boogeyman under their bed. And this is just a bunch of more bullshit. Take this post on a prominent college student-run publication where the young author mistakes the start of Gamergate to 5 years ago. It's not 4 as a prime example. Okay, so he got the year wrong. Fucking whoop. So what has become TotalBiscuit's legacy? E3 went by last month without a single mention of Bane's passing, which I find to be a bit disappointing. He did a lot of good in the gaming community for those who knew about him. He was always there to call game developers and games journalists on their shit when required, but he was also an active voice in trying to make the gaming community a better place. I do think he should have gotten some recognition, but that's really neither here nor there. While Gamergate went on to spawn and populate the alt-right and shape conservative language commonly used today, kind of. It didn't spawn and populate the alt-right. You guys did that. But the terminology is used amongst a lot of people, including the right, including the left, blah, 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 blah. The women affected went on to support and publicize the Me Too movement and influence liberal messaging. I don't know of any of the women involved in this having anything to do with the Me Too movement. If there are, I'd love to see a link so I can horribly laugh at them. But again, you don't provide a link to that either. This is just supposition on your part because you have no fucking sources. So, citation needed there, bitch. This is something Bane should have foreseen. He's supposed to be fucking psychic all of a sudden. Another hurdle for his legacy is the fact that much of gamer lore, including about Bane, is oral, social, sold through videos, live streams, podcasts, group Skype calls, team chat over headsets, and in person at tournaments. We record most of that shit. So if you want to know who John Bane was, go to his YouTube channel. I think the guy might have had a website. Go to Twitch where all of his stuff is. You can watch it and see for yourself. The majority of his history, like top gamers and personalities, is not written down in easily accessible form if you don't have YouTube. It is the stories friends tell each other. So why are you trying to rub mud on it? B wants Bane to remember for all the good he has done as an innovator, industry titan, and a consumer advocate, not just as an entertainer and thoughtful online critic that elevated video games to the art form they deserve to be. I agree that he should get that recognition. That is what he should be remembered for. Why are you so against that? Now, I am going to disagree with something. Video games, in my opinion, are not an art form and shouldn't. We're not putting fucking Halo in a museum in 300 years. We're not. Nobody's going to care. But the vocal olds, especially the progressive variety, can't see Bane as anything other than the alleged leader of the biggest online harassment campaign they've ever witnessed. However hyperbolic and wrong that image of him may be. And you just admit that it's not true. And it's just a scaremongering tactic. So you just invalidated your entire fucking article, you complete fucking moron. His best bet is if his wife works to repair Bane's reputation, but it's unclear if she is up to the challenge or if he wants or thinks she needs to make amends. Just throwing this out there, she doesn't. Bane's reputation would be fine if you fuckers would stop being fuckers. Some of these critics are the same who mocked her husband's passing. After all, so any attempt with someone so publicly hateful is probably futile, like yourself. Anyway, now this is just, clearly Bane didn't do enough to atone for his perceived Gamergate sins, but if they're perceived and not true, then he doesn't have anything to atone for, and you're, again, just being a dick. And if there's a lesson in all this, is that one must make peace and settle any internet beef you have with feminists while you're still living. No, fuck the feminists. Fuck them. They keep getting proven wrong. History is written by the victors, after all. And if you think the feminists are going to be the victors, you have not been watching the news recently, lady. But Genna Bane, I think it's Genna, I'm not positive how to pronounce that, ma'am, and I do apologize. And I'm talking to the woman herself, not the idiot that wrote this article. Wife and CEO of all media related to TotalBiscuit did not respond to requests for comment. I cannot possibly imagine why she would not want to talk to you. So, yeah, this is just more of the goddamn same, and it's pissing me off. Let the guy rest in peace. You ended your article with saying that he was not responsible for any of this stuff, that it was all bullshit, but you still felt the need to write, a couple thousand words over it. And, hey, you know what? It's only gotten 37,000 views. That is way, way more reach than this video is going to get. And I'm okay with that. Because, God damn it, somebody needs to stand up for this guy. They really do. Because people like Fruzina here are just bad people. I'm not saying she's bad because she's a feminist. I'm not saying she's bad because she's a woman. I'm saying she's bad because she's a fearmonger and a liar. And as usual, she's going after someone who can't defend themselves, and then saying anyone who does stand up for them are just wrong. They're wrong because even though they knew the guy, they're not inside her fucking head knowing what she knows, because of course as a feminist, and this is why she's an asshole, she is the only one allowed to be right. Stop letting these people dictate the fucking narrative.